Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So there's a rumour going around that Walter Hamada will remain in his position. This will trigger and upset some and make the other side of the DC Extended Universe fandom extremely happy. So I don't know if this is true or not. Of course, I've been hinting about this, if you've noticed, in the past couple of videos. I'm one of those DCEU fans who's not extremely triggered about this situation, and if he was to remain in control of the DC Extended Universe, that would give us some consistency instead of, keep on changing the direction we're going in. Does the DCEU need a change of direction yet again? We're getting Cavill back, we're getting Affleck back. Now, a lot of people see Walter Hamada as the problem. But this is a very interesting thing because David Zaslav is a very, very intelligent man. I know he triggers some of you and some of you support him. But just look at what's happened since he's come in. Before he even walked into the building, he removed Ann Sarnoff. Ann Sarnoff was null and void before he even walked into the Warner Brothers Burbank studios. Think about that for a minute. And then about a month and a half later, he removed Emmerich, while Walter Hamada has remained. Now, we know that Walter was very upset by the cancellation of Batgirl and threatened to quit. But it's clear that Zaslav does respect and admire Hamada because he begged him to stay. So they must have come to some kind of arrangement over Batgirl. So I believe that Leslie Grace as Batgirl isn't problematic, isn't a problem, and I'll be very happy if she cameos in the Flash movie, in other movies. Now, Blue Beetle would be a perfect place with so much Hispanic representation for her to cameo in. So no problem with that. I think if they do unshelve the Batgirl movie, huge changes will be made, and maybe a couple of characters maybe will be removed from that movie, and it will be given money so it can be in the quality, so it can be released as a cinematic movie. Because the problems that people kind of blame Walter Hamada for are not really his fault. I've said this before, that he, in a lot of ways, wasn't in control of everything. He wasn't in control of Birds of Prey. That was Margot Robbie's ship, and she was sailing it. I'm still surprised Margot Robbie doesn't get more hate for Birds of Prey. Everything that happened in that movie was because of her. But everyone hates on Hamada, but not Margot Robbie because she looks nice in a bikini. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. I like Margot Robbie, great actress, but her politics and her extreme feminism are a problem, especially where the DCEU is concerned. Wonder Woman 84 again. That, Emmerich gave Patty Jenkins complete control. Walter could do nothing about it. You're either the head of DC Films or you're not. And I believe some of the decisions have been his, and some of the other decisions were Emmerich and Sarnoff. So we will read an article and a quote from The Rock talking about the old leadership going and how that's a good thing very, very shortly. So do I think that Walter Hamada will remain? Well, I'm asking you the question. Sarnoff and Emmerich are gone. Why didn't Zaslav, boot out Hamada at the same time? Because everyone's saying that Zaslav is micromanaging the DCEU. Who made the decision to bring Superman back? It's David Zaslav. David Zaslav told us directly that he wanted Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman front and center. We now know that Batfleck is in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and Patty has recently told us not only is she doing a Wonder Woman 3, there's big plans for beyond Wonder Woman 3. Now, no matter what I think of what Patty did with Wonder Woman 84, I'm glad that someone like Zaslav is micromanaging these situations so Patty doesn't make the same mistakes again. Patty has to listen to the fans because I like Patty as a person. In her interviews, she comes across really pleasant. Now, if I've ever sounded disrespectful to Walter, personally, that's not how I feel. But I'm not happy with what she did with Wonder Woman 84. But hopefully, she's listening to Zaslav, or she's going to have to listen to Zaslav, or her role in the driving force of Wonder Woman will end. So it's interesting with Walter Hamada. I wouldn't mind him staying. I think he's in a better position to stay because he hasn't been gotten rid of. And because they haven't gotten rid of him, he's clearly not part of the problem. But there are rumours right now that Hamada is going to stay. And as I say, I've been hinting towards this the past couple of days, and I'm not surprised that this is a thing. And yes, I'd be okay with this because I saw what he did in the New Line Cinema horror universe, and I was very pleased with what he did with that. His name's on Shazam. I like Shazam. His name's on Aquaman. I love Aquaman. I love the Suicide Squad. So it's okay just to point out with what he did wrong, but while he's been in charge, but we have to look at what he's done right. Of course, there's an element of inconsistency there as well. But I have to look at the full thing. He is a capable person, but if he is going to stay, he can't keep on hiding from the Ray Fisher accusations. He can't be intimidated by them. If he has to apologise to Ray, so Ray comes back, just apologise to Ray. I've said it before. I don't hold Walter responsible for the Ray Fisher and Justice League reshoot situation. Hamada wasn't even there. But if he has to fake apologise, then fake apologise. But as I say, like with a lot of things these days, the Snyderverse fans are not going to be happy about this decision. I don't believe Walter Hamada is a Zack Snyder hater. I believe that Walter Hamada was having his strings pulled at the time. So that's the rumour going on right now, that Walter Hamada will remain in control of the DC Extended Universe, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But The Rock has been very surprising in the way he's marketed. You know, the marketing and publicity drive for Black Adam, as you already know, I think is amazing. I've never seen such marketing before in movies. The man can't stop talking. And he's being very honest, and he's not hiding the fact that Superman is in this movie. Warner Brothers actively prevented Henry Cavill's Superman return, confirms DC star. After a rollercoaster ride over almost the past decade, and unfortunately much of that more recent past has been without one of the most important characters in the entire DC catalogue. Henry Cavill's Superman, although he's starred in the first two DCEU movies as the Man of Steel, Cavill hasn't been seen in canon since 2017's disastrous theatrical cut of Justice League, which doesn't include reshoots for 2021's Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max. Yes. Interestingly, Henry didn't come back to do some reshoots, which made Zack had to use some old footage you can notice in that movie, so he didn't come back. That's interesting, isn't it? Clearly one of the things that the company didn't allow to happen. But since then, he hasn't been called back to don the blue suit and red cape for another round of action. Warner Brothers has even gone so far as to use a stand-in for his character at the end of 2019 Shazam, which was a disastrous decision that poor David F. Sandberg had to deal with. But I've said how you fix that. At the beginning of Shazam Fury of the Gods, you show that scene with Henry in it. While rumours have pointed to him being included in this year's Black Adam, he is in Black Adam. Fans are outraged over Superman's extended absence from the DCEU, with no signs pointing to when he'll be a key player in the story again. Again, this is very negative by the journalist because we know he's in Black Adam, and, you know, the scene in Black Adam hints to a future with Henry Cavill's Superman. We need to talk. What do you think that means? And according to a recent rumour, viewers are now know who was responsible for that decision being made. Speaking on the Black Adam press tour, Dwayne Johnson discussed a change in leadership at Warner Brothers Discovery. Johnson noted that his main goal with Black Adam was that it takes care of the fans, confirming how it took 6 full years to fully convince Warner Brothers and DC Films to bring back Henry Cavill's Superman back into the DC Extended Universe. Now, to be clear, The Rock and Seven Bucks have been fighting to get him back. But it wasn't them that made this possible. It was David Zaslav. If David Zaslav didn't come in and Emmerich and Sarnoff remained, then at the end of the day, there'd be no Henry Cavill Superman. We discussed this yesterday. Notably, Johnson indicated how the studio's old leadership kept saying no to Cavill's superheroic return. The studio's new regime is what allowed Black Adam to usher in a new era in the DC universe and paint a bright future for Cavill's Superman. This is what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had to say. This serves not only Black Adam, but it serves the larger DC universe. But man, more importantly than that, it takes care of the fans, and that's what you want your lead foot to be. And yes, phone calls and meetings, but man, it was years. This was 6 years to get that done. I'm going to say that again, 6 years. We first started talking about this, and they kept saying no. Now that leadership isn't there anymore because we usher in a new era in the DC universe, and we usher out an old era. Now, what does he mean by serving the fans? Is he trying to be nice and kind? Not really. What he means is, we are the customer. And if you want to make money, you please the customer. Now, the customer demanding Superman shouldn't be that factor that brings Superman in. It's obvious that Superman should be involved in any DC shared universe. But obviously, Zaslav understands that. They've gone, we don't have to worry anymore, and it's all good. Between 2018 and now, there have been 4 different chair people running the company. Kevin Tsujihara, Ann Sarnoff, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Adby. The latter 2 of which are the current co-chairpersons as of April 2022. Based on Johnson's comments, the Warner Brothers regime under Tsujihara and Sarnoff didn't allow for Cavill's Superman to return, while DeLuca and Adby were part of the team who gave the okay. Right. Tsujihara was the one who decided Christopher Nolan should run a shared DC universe, right? Nolan brought in Snyder. Tsujihara then quit, I think, was it after Justice League? He had nothing to do with the boycott on Superman. The boycott on Superman was mainly by Toby Emmerich and Ann Sarnoff, because I like to get these things right. What will The Rock get Superman back? For a character portrayal combination as widely popular as Henry Cavill's Superman, it seems to be a cinematic crime that he hasn't been seen for so long within the DCEU. Particularly with the actor wanting to play the role again in the future, there seems to be no good reason why Warner Brothers has kept Cavill out of the blue and red suit for such a long time. Within the DCEU, putting it bluntly by saying that he's been on the sidelines for too long. And as rumours point to the Man of Steel finally coming back in some form during Black Adam, it seems right that The Rock is the one to potentially make fans' wishes come true with regard to Superman. For the time being, should Superman actually be included in any part of Black Adam, it will remain a mystery until the movie fully releases. It's not a mystery, it's the worst kept secret in cinematic history. In a few days, but the anticipation of bringing Cavill's Clark Kent back in action already has fans waiting to see what actually comes to fruition. Black Adam will debut in theatres on Friday, October the 21st, as most of us know, unless you've been dead or living under a rock. One of the things that's quite interesting about Superman coming back, and this is why it's so complicated to continue the DC Extended Universe, what about Clark Kent? Clark Kent was reportedly dead in BVS, because obviously you can't have Clark Kent if there's no Superman. It's obvious. So how do they bring Superman and Clark Kent back to life in the DCEU? Now, we've seen 2 Justice League movies that have brought Superman back to life, both not really dealing with Clark Kent. Now, in Justice League, we see him, I think, take the glasses off and remove that. I think in Zack Snyder cut, he just removes that without taking the glasses off. I think. It seems like there is a Clark Kent at the end of both movies. I think. Now, Snyder said, or I think hinted towards, saying that Clark Kent is still dead. And in Justice League 2, he struggles with that fact of being Superman all the time. So that's interesting. So what do they do here? Well, I've told you what I think already. I think this is a Flashpoint Superman, and this is how they do away with any of those complications. Without Justice League, the DC Extended Universe is actually a really good franchise. Before you start talking about Rotten Tomatoes scores or box office, I am not talking about that. Those are none of our concern. The only concern we should have with those things is as long as they don't stop us from getting more DC content. And up to now, they haven't. As I've said before, the DCEU is like a cat with 9 lives. In fact, the DCEU's lives are infinite. What I mean by the DCEU is I've enjoyed the DCEU apart from Justice League is that I like all the movies. And you know, you can even watch Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey from a slanted view and say it isn't great, but it isn't terrible either. We digress and we move on. No franchise has the perfect storm anyway. The MCU's got the Rotten Tomato scores in the box office, but as we've seen from Phase 4, it is not perfect. And what about that She-Hulk finale? Imagine a bunch of producers and showrunners going like that to its audience because they couldn't handle some constructive criticism. This is where we are in the industry today. But anyway, yes, I love the DCEU apart from Justice League. I celebrate it. I celebrate Superman's return and I celebrate the future. I can't wait to see what we get next. This has been Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.